Welcome to Justin Gaming here today. I've got some community members here from the TERA forums with me, and this is our third, fourth, or something attempt at getting this stuff started here. But with me, I've got RC, who's going to be here with us, and his camera is a little bit jacked up right now on my screen, of course. We'll get that figured out here in a second. We won't take another take on this one. And then we have Zon with us. And we have TERA, who does not have video, so he just gets a nice little picture. All right, so we're going to fix this little video right here real quick. And just so you all remember, you will look cut off on your own screen every time, no matter what. Because of the fact that it's what's transmitting to you is false. All right, there we go. Now we're set. So, let's start with very simple. I'm just going to go in order here. RC, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and your feelings on TERA, just in general. What brought you to TERA?
The combat. I think, like most people that are in TERA right now, I've played so many MMOs, and I'm just sick of tab targeting. I know it sounds like a plug TERA, but it's entirely why I'm interested in the game. I've got a background in, I go back as far as TERA Online, which most people probably don't even remember. But Lineage 2, played a lot of Rohan, played about 4 years of Runes of Magic, probably a good 30 other MMOs in there for a good maybe a month at a time, but those are really the main ones. I don't know. I'm just ready for some better combat.
All right. And then we got Zon over here with us as well. And Zon, what has brought you to TERA? What interests you in it?
The biggest thing is I came from EVE, which is probably the best game I've ever played. But the possibilities of the political system and obviously the combat system is completely awesome. You know, once you start using it, you just can't even go back to any other game at all. So the potential behind what this development team's pulling together is just mind-blowing, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah. So, and then Tyro, our video list, gets a picture person. What brought you to TERA?
The combat system. In the past 2-3 years, I've been playing Darkfall, which is a first-person shooter, and this is kind of a little bit more toned down from that. It's not as hard to aim, which a lot of my friends like, and I'm really just looking for an MMO to play with people. I also like the free-for-all PvP, or what hopefully will be free-for-all PvP. I don't like factions, RVR.
Well, you may be the first person to say that this is not, it's toned down and not as hard to aim when it comes to a game, but I understand what you're talking about, coming from Darkfall. Hard to aim in there because movement didn't have any consequence in that game, I'd say. But glad to have you all here with us. And for anybody watching, yes, there is no, I didn't go through the forums and find specific people and say, hey, do you want to join me? I simply put out a calling in the PvP Closed Beta 2 section, and these are the ones who responded. So I decided to invite them on and have a discussion. And who needs specific high names? We just have discussion with people, and if people want to argue about it, they can. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's just start with some good experiences. Let's start with the good. What did you enjoy about the open world PvP from this past closed beta test 2? Let's start with you, Zon.
Oh, I mean, obviously the ability to just click a button and go kill somebody was awesome. Then shortly be mauled by several other people who didn't like that. That was awesome too. So it definitely brought that thrill factor that you can just get screwed at any moment into leveling, which was completely different from CB1. And I played TERA, and you don't have any chance in TERA because they're like 3-second delays. So that was the biggest thing for me, was the having that same feel I had in Eve. Like, you go out in Eve, you go into 0-0 sec, some guy shows up and blows you up, and you're just screwed. Same thing here, except for not as much lost.
Yeah. What do you say?
Have that.
What do you say, Tyro?
I liked it. Felt a little awkward to have to press an ability to attack someone, but I feel like it did what it had to. I mean, I could attack anyone, and that's what I liked.
Yeah. And what about you, RC?
I mean, I like the looking over my shoulder. Again, I had a lot of experience in Lineage 2, and Lineage 2, you just control-click somebody and you're attacking them. So I like that aspect of it, the idea that somebody who's legitimately in my area can come up and put up a good fight just because they don't like the monsters I'm killing or whatever. I like that freedom, but well, I mean, yeah, other than that, it's TERA, so I enjoyed the hell out of it.
And as for me, I just have to say it was the freedom aspect. I mean, I played both Darkfall and Mortal Online, and open world PvP is something I really like. And the fact that you can be somewhere and ambush somebody was nice and fun, interesting and stuff. So let's go ahead and get into the systems that we have going on here in this game. And the first one I want to talk about is safe zones. And so far on the forums, there is some split. It seems like it's starting to lean towards more of something needs to be changed on the safe zones a little bit, but the community kind of argues back and forth regarding the safe zones in the game. So what do you think? I mean, as far as I know, safe zones, when I played it, it was an annoyance to have 6 people outside and 1 person running into it to keep themselves back alive when they initiated the fight. And then you got healers in there who stay in the safe zone with them. What were your experiences with it, and what is your biggest pain? We can have anybody start.
Go.
You go.
All right. Well, I mean, it's extremely annoying to start with. Like I said on the forums, I really hope it's just to gauge the player base. I played a Zerker, which I plan on maining, and pretty much I could just walk right out and kill somebody in one shot and walk right back in, and that's pretty much what I did when I didn't have anyone around to play with. So it probably was more annoying for other people. But I don't support it. I definitely think that if you outlaw status, you should totally get, mauled. Safe zones should not be involved.
So you were one of those annoying people who we would go out there and fight, and then you'd run back inside until your status wore off, and then go repeat. You were a rinse and repeater.
Might as well abuse it,
Abuse the system that's in hand. Okay.
Especially as a Zerker, I mean, I have the ability to abuse it the most in the game at that point.
Wow. Okay, Tyro or RC, what was your feelings on it, or did you abuse the systems as well?
I think, okay, I myself was not running around PKing, and I'm not, and that's my girlfriend in the back, so just ignore that. I was not trying to. I was playing it more for the excitement of knowing that somebody can come up and PK me. I'm the kind of player that in an open world PvP system like Lineage 2, when people flag and are causing grief for other people, if I can kill that person, I will go after them just as sort of a good guy kind of thing. I think the open world PvP system is a great tool for creating heals and and faces, so to speak. So as far as those areas go, I think there's a simple fix for it. Make it so it's not safe from PvP, but if somebody is red, the guards just kill them. So red names have to stay away from those areas. It gives someone somewhere to run that has a little bit more safety, but not entirely. Because if somebody wants to try and brave the guards for one quick last shot, they can kill them in that area. But chances are the guards are going to drop them.
All right. So far as I'm understanding here, we've got Zahn here, who is the griefer. RC here, who's going to be the lives for the danger and protects those who he can help. And then what do we got here, Tyro? What would you consider yourself in this situation?
I really don't know what to do. I think something should be done about them, but I think there's several different ways to go about it. I'd almost prefer, like, one thing I'm thinking about is I'd prefer if in a guild versus guild conflict, if you could just fight in the cities, because fighting and kiting around in the city is usually really fun, like run through the buildings and stuff.
Hold on. So did you participate in the Guild v Guild?
No, I did not actually participate. I wasn't in a guild, but I did get caught up in the conflict with No Fun Allowed, and then a few other conflicts on Jagged Coast.
Okay, so I wasn't aware that they couldn't fight in the cities either. So what you're saying, and I guess I hadn't read on the forums, but the Guild v Guilds are also safe zoned inside the cities, is what you're saying?
Yes. Or, well, I guess that's the impression I was getting, because there was no fighting in cities. So maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but
No, it probably is right. It's they probably took a zone of the city and said, all right, anything inside this line is untouchable.
Anyone who saw the 4chan horde run up into the main city and didn't massacre everyone that was there, so.
No, there's a No Fun Allowed guild that was on mine. There's guarding bridges. All right, so as far as, I experienced it as well. I was one of the people who said, you know what, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to attack them, I'll run back out there and attack them again, I'm going to run out there and attack them again, until I ran out of my potions and had to sit there through this long health regen rate, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm done doing that. But it was definitely, I see a problem, and I feel like something needs to be fixed here. It was one of the biggest issues I had with the system, is that you could flag but maintain and get your safety. What would you all prefer? A guard system, or prefer if they are still attackable in the city and anybody that attacks them inside the city turns gray, possibly, for that person and they can attack them back? Or, we obviously can't have them. They're going to keep safe zones no matter what in some manner, but I don't think we can have it to where the Reds should be able to go into the city and attack whoever they want. So, my opinion on best system here, and this is just my opinion, you all may think differently, is not to have guards so much, because guards take out the fun of the whole thing of being able to stay alive. Guard comes along and smites you; it's kind of annoying. But if they have a system in place to where you can essentially attack the red who runs into the city, and if you attack them, then you turn gray or you turn red to him. Essentially, you become attackable to him inside the city, but only those who have attacked him can become attackable to the person. What do you all say? Guards, that, what else? What other thoughts have you all had on this, reading the forums and playing the game?
Well, if you did that, you might as well just say all reds can attack each other and take damage. That way, like, if you see a red in the city, and you have your friends, which people will do. If they have, like, a group of people and they see one red in the city, if they have the option to flag outlaw and then attack that person, they'll do it. So if you just allowed outlaws to fight in cities, I think that would get outlaws killed.
Allow outlaws to fight outlaws? Or
Exactly.
Okay.
Or at least that would be an easy solution. You could do some system, like you said, with the gray thing, where if you can attack a person who is red and you turn gray, and then you can attack that person. But of course, that could possibly lead to griefing. I could see something happening where if you're screwing around and someone's trying to jump in front of your attacks or something, maybe if you're dueling. I'm not completely sure how the system works, though.
Zahn, you were one of these people who utilized this system to your advantage. What do you say on this? What would your feelings be on being attackable in the city in some manner?
I think that red should totally be attackable. I'm actually pro guards, not like, there's a guard at every single little point in the city, but having checkpoints and things of that nature. I do think that it brings a certain amount of... I actually personally find it fun because you have to avoid the guards and still kill people, outside of their sight of range, so it adds a challenge factor to it. I think that you should both be killed by the guards, and you should be killable by players. Obviously, if a player attacks you, you should be able to attack them back and kill them. I think one thing we don't know is the political system, how that's going to play into the city mechanics, since they are being very hesitant about telling us about it.
Well,
So,
okay, then let's think about this though. We have our main cities in the game that we have existing right now, and RC, you were out there living for the danger of the possibility of being attacked. What about these outposts? There's several outposts, these quest hubs throughout the entire world that are not actually cities, but they were still safe zones. Do you think maybe those should be just full-on attackable inside there, no safe zone in that region? Because I think a lot of people's complaints was there were just too many safe zones from one place to the next as well.
See, I think my whole concept of it is a PvP server, an open world PvP server, has to work a balance between allowing people to quest and level, but still allowing people that open world, can be killed wherever feeling. Part of that is why, I like the idea of getting rid of the, quote, safe zone and turning it into a guarded zone. Because, then, like he was saying, you've got to skirt around the guards in order to be a bandit. And, I mean, what's the point in guards if they're not going to stomp bandits? I mean, bandits, to me, are people who've broken the law. So it feels like the guards should be there to prevent, rather than having some artificial fake wall that, suddenly I can't attack in here. It just seems more immersive as well. I think like I was saying, the balance between the PvP and the leveling, questing really needs to be looked at, because, as it is, I was one of those guys that I couldn't play on Friday, so I hit that bridge at Lumbertown when there were plenty of level 27s there. The stupid archer auto shot, that auto lock skill, like I saw an archer take 4 or 5 people down with just one auto lock attack. I mean, there's ways around it, and I had fun getting around it, but when it got to the point where every time I got to a quest mob, killed 2 of them, and was dead from somebody coming up behind me, it was a brick wall. I could not finish quests, and I think that's where the main issue is in the allowance for unhindered griefing.
Well, then, I don't know if have you all ever played a game called Hellbreath before? Hellbreath, I guess, was kind of like between UO and some other games, essentially. It was sort of like a 2D/3D game environment, and it had open world PvP involved in it. And I think their system worked really well for this idea. In their main city, they had guards, but the guards were not all seeing guards. They weren't omnipotent or whatever. They weren't able to just suddenly smite you down out of midair. And in fact, they traveled the city. So they had pathing that they took. They traveled the city and stuff and walked around it. And if they saw you, they could start attacking you. And they couldn't one-hit kill you. They did higher damage than players did. But if a group of people were smart enough, they could kill the guard, and it would be a little bit before it respawned. So this was kind of unique. And people could also type /guards, and the guards would take its immediate path to the to where you were, where you shouted for them and stuff. So they'd start heading that direction. But it was really nice because it just sort of brought in this idea of there are guards protecting the city. They can stop them. However, they just couldn't be. They weren't overpowering so much that they could take out an entire group. So it brought in that whole idea of the risk of the guards can help, but you can also destroy the guards to get your opportunity to go kill people. Do you think that system could work in TERA, possibly?
Definitely, that's a system that's really needed, or a variation of that system is needed in the game. I was one of the people that was probably killing you. But I was helping people too, At a certain point when it got boring killing the people that weren't able to fight back, I started killing the people that were killing the people that couldn't fight back. So, and that's important as well. I think that we shouldn't take that away from the game. Having players policing players is the best way to have a dynamic environment that allows us to continue playing after everything that Bluehole and NMAS has planned for us to do. After we've already gone through all that, that's what's going to let us have something to do. So I think it's important to have guards. I think it's important to have the safe zones. I don't personally agree with the safe zones in the world. I think that you should just have guarded areas, and then if you manage to kill the guards, or if that person can't call anyone to help, then yeah, you're kind of screwed. But I don't think it should be one level 27s able to walk up and kill the guards at this outpost that these 20 level 16s are trying to turn in quests at. That's kind of imbalanced.
What do you say, Tyro or RC? Have we lost?
Well,
Not there.
you can go.
Go ahead, Tyro. Okay, I'll go. Because I think that could have gone on for about 10 more minutes. Okay, yeah, I think I've totally lost my train of thought. Hate it when that happens. No, I agree with you. I think that safe zones in the area, like I was saying, in the open world, are a little overkill. I think that a guard system fixes that nicely, but I think we're sort of running in circles. One of my big problems again was the griefing, and one of the things that I've noticed, like in Lineage 2, it had a karma system. That's something that I've really been pushing for in the forums. The karma system, and I know a lot of people disagree with it, but it gives a penalty to people who open PK. At the same time, it gives a stronger penalty towards actual griefers. If you go out and kill somebody under 10 levels under you, you're going to get a harsher penalty. And in Lineage 2, it was dropping a piece of item as a possibility. It wasn't a high percentage, but if you went around killing if you killed 100 level 10s as a level 50 character, chances were when you got killed, you were going to drop something, be it a piece of equipment or, just something would be dropped for whoever it was that finally brought you down. And I think a system like that not only encourages player policing by, giving a possible reward to somebody who brings down one of these PKers, but it also adds that sort of edge for people who want to go grief, as opposed to making griefing the easiest possible thing. Just walk into a level 10 area or 12 area and kill whatever you want. Now they've got to think about, I could lose my weapon. Yeah.
So you're saying here, if we take a system essentially where someone who has declared themselves outlaw, say it's based on how many people they've killed or how many times they've declared outlaw status, it sort of gives them an outlaw ranking system. And I would almost going to say, and we have to remember how much can NMAS and Bluehole get coded in at any time period, and how much is Bluehole going to be willing to change anyways. But in a sense, the more you kill, the larger risk your character items should be, I would say. Or maybe not even larger risk, just the fact that if you killed 5 people, now you have a 15% chance to drop an item. Or regardless of what item you have, maybe any equipped item or any item in your inventory might be make it friendlier to people. But at the same time, I think equipped items would be better just because that's a bigger risk in a sense. That's my liking. I mean, of course, me and Tyro here at Darkfall are full loot gamers from this thing. So I like the risk. I like the idea of adding in a risk system into it as well.
And what's nice about it is it adds sort of a reverse ladder, because the people who do enjoy griefing now have the, how far down can you get your karma? It was a numerical value. So people run around going, hey, I've got negative 30,000 karma. I've killed hundreds of level 12, 13 characters, and nobody my level has been able to come take me down. And that's really what PKers are generally looking for, is the recognition of how awesome they are.
I'd almost like to say like a most wanted warrant board, a most wanted board or something like that could be implemented into the cities that you can click on and see who the top PKers in the region are or something like that. And I really think this would become bigger if we look at it when they add into politically owned areas. If you can become a top PKer in, say, that guild's domain, and you become notified. It sort of gives you this idea, this feeling of those who want to be PKers, they're actually doing it for a reason now, as opposed to just griefing. They want to become the top most wanted or whatever, in that sense. But Tyro, you said you played Darkfall, if I'm not mistaken, and you've played Full Loot. What do you think about a drop system being added in? You there, Tyro?
You got a cricket soundboard?
Seem to have lost him. Okay. Well, let's move on. Outside this safe zone thing, I mean, we've talked about
Sorry,
this.
I was muted.
Oh, well, there you are.
I keep on muting my mic so I don't have any feedback. With Full Loot, you have to be careful how you implement it, I feel. Because in Darkfall, I felt they've found a good balance with gear. Like, your gear didn't affect your damage, except for your weapon. Your weapon was the only thing that affected your damage. So if you wanted more damage, you'd have a good weapon, and then you could spend more money on more armor, which would give you more protection. But it wasn't that important because of the mobility in the game. Like, you still wanted it, but it wasn't like necessary for every peak, like every time you fought. So actually, I'm not completely sure what I'm trying to get at.
No, but you bring me right into the next point that I actually want to cover for us regarding this is leveling and gear in the game making a difference in PvP. And in an open world PvP game, obviously, if there's a level game, this level difference is going to have some sort of effect most of the time. But I noticed in TERA that just 2 levels alone, gave you a difference from a decent fight to a 4-hit or less, you're dead fight. I mean, I even in my own example, I was level 25, went up against a 27 magic person, whatever they're called, mage or whatever, and they killed me in 4 hits with the little throw up in the air, hit multiple people attacks. I mean, 4 hits and I was dead. So what do you all think? I mean, we can't change it. I have to say, I don't think we can change it. It's been in there. The game was originally optimized, I think, for open world PvP at 50 plus anyways. So how did you feel? Did you all run into any cases where you were out-leveled and being slaughtered?
Oh yeah, I had the same problem. I got in a fight with a person 2 levels higher than me. I thought I'd be able to take him, and it was just silly how I couldn't really do anything to him, and he was able to beat me. But as you said, I don't think we can do anything about it, so you just kind of have to work around the system, and try to get levels, and if you get in a fight like that, just get over it if you lose.
Yeah, I think that it comes down to this idea of most people who play games, I mean, having played Darkfall Mortal Online or any other PvP game, you have to start realizing that you sometimes have to realize when you've lost a fight or if you're going to lose a fight and get out of there. And while it may be harder at that 27 level thing, but when people are talking about gank squads coming after them, well, it's pretty easy to get out of combat in this game. Get on your mount and run away and stay away.
Switch channels.
Well, okay. I sort of have... I'm a little frustrated at that. Yeah, the switch channels thing, it shouldn't be instant. It probably shouldn't be allowed in combat, but at the same time, it's not... From what I was noticing, because the fact that any movement removed my HUD, I'd pull my HUD up and any WASD movement other than continuing to go forward would drop the HUD. I could never get to the channel in time. But that aside, you can't mount up in combat. Somebody hits you once and suddenly you're locked to running away. You've got the Berserker? No, not the Berserker. The Slayer or whatever has the
range attack.
The dash. Well, the dash
Oh,
forward
yeah.
is what kept getting me. They'd dash forward at me. I'd roll away as a warrior, but they'd ultimately get close enough. Obviously this is more ganking, but the auto lock, I'm okay with the auto lock. I just think that it should have some limitation from the archer, some limitation in PvP, because as you said, 2 levels is a huge difference. An auto lock attack from an archer, even 2 levels higher than you, is going to put you already way down on the on the chances of winning this fight.
Yeah, and I guess
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and you're right. And I said the whole runaway thing, but now I'm thinking about it. I didn't run into a situation where I got that opportunity against a archer or a sork or anything. But anybody who's ranged, yeah, there's not going to be a running away opportunity because they can keep you in combat the entire time. So you're moving at that slow snail's pace during that. So
I
yeah,
died quite a few times as a Zerker. I mean, you pretty much have no way of getting away once they knock you off your mount or anything like that. I personally think that the griefers are the ones probably using the channels more than the people trying to get away. I honestly don't think that you should be able to. I honestly think it should be something that's for one casted, and you shouldn't be able to move, and it should have a time that it takes to actually switch channels. Because I mean, I ran into way more people that were griefing, and then would just run off to another channel and go grief people there, or channel hop until you couldn't find them anymore. It was, I think, abused more by the griefers than it was by the people trying to get away.
yeah, and I'd say the channel hopping though I don't think was. I think it's just it's a simple error they had because as far as I understand, when you're in combat, you can't open the channel menu. So what people were doing, they were opening the channel menu, and that's why I think it was more griefers than anybody using it. It's because griefers would open it up and then they'd go fight and they'd leave it open. And if it was open, you could still click on the channel and hop. But if it was closed when you started getting into combat, you weren't able to open it. So I think it's just a coding mistake of needing to set it up straight so that it just can't be used within. You can't switch it all in combat, or the fact that it shouldn't stay open. Maybe it should when you pop it, it should auto close.
They said the channels are like temporary, anyways. They're only doing the channels for the beta when they have to spread out the players. What's going to happen when there's no channels and all the griefers are in the same area without having to switch channels to find people to grief? I'm just a little concerned about that. Obviously, when the level goes up to 50 or 58 or 60, whatever it is right now, there's going to be people spread out in where to grief. But still, this is a problem that was overabundant in the closed beta, and in my opinion, without some sort of penalty, it's going to be as bad. Even though it's more spread out, it's going to be just as bad in the release.
And that's true. And yeah, I'm assuming you're referring to essentially like what was going on in Lumbertown, where they just blocked you. I ran into it. I ran to them. There was a group of 50. There was like 15 people there. Their guild was no fun allowed, and they were blocking the bridge. And I was on channel 1 at the time, and I jump over to channel 6, and they've got 10 people there as well. And I mean, I found a channel that didn't have them there, and I was able to get away. But you're right. If the channels are not there anymore into the game, if it really is true that they are taking away the channels, then we're going to have to find a way around them. And if they can just sit there and grief you all day, I know there will be guilds that do that. And in this game, there's not like much opportunity to get around them or away from them. I've seen it done in other games, and you could find ways to bypass them or knock them down for a moment and get away. But with the suddenly your movement speed is cut in half type deal that goes on for fighting in this game, that does kind of limit that option.
I didn't heard that they were getting rid of the channels. Actually, I was on the impression they were going to be staying.
I think it may be that there's going to be less channels. They said. I think it was in the closed beta 2 announcements, like what they had changed. They were saying something about that they had added channels that were going to be temporary for the spread of players to make it so that it's not so crowded every channel.
They did mention that they would be raising the amount of people in a channel to where that so many channels wouldn't be created, but there would still be. I don't think they're getting rid of channels altogether.
Yeah, probably not altogether, but I don't imagine we'll have 5 or 6 lumber towns.
No, I doubt it.
Yeah, so. All right. Tyler, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. What do you think?
I think it just comes to the community. I mean, if they're going to do that to the people they're playing with, you can always leave the server. Like, if it's that bad early on in the game, you can just leave the server. If they want to play with no one, then they'll play with no one.
So we're gonna.
And then there's those people who are going to want to fight, play against them. They're going to want to beat them. So there's going to be people who stay and want to beat them, and they will. They'll find a way around, their own way around. But
I kind of agree with Tyra on that.
Yeah.
it kind of just comes to the community, and I feel like a lot of things with PvP needs to be the community and not the game. It needs to be the community, like fighting off a ganker or whatever. The game doesn't need to tell them to do it. The people should do it themselves. And I mean, if they don't, then it's just gonna hurt it.
Yeah, and I would kind of I'd agree on that. If we can get the community, and it's this thing, if the game's going to be largely community based when it comes to PvP, then I think NMAS themselves need to start advocating that for the community to realize, create your own police force and stuff like that. And if they start advocating that, then that could be quite interesting. Bringing back community decisions into the game. We're so accustomed currently in gaming. We're so accustomed to this. Here's the system. Here's how it works. Here's how we prevent you from being griefed, but here's how we allow you to have your fun at the same time. It's sort of like we've gotten into these games where it's just, here's what you have, go play with it, as opposed to, here's what we've created, create more. And I think that's what maybe that's what hopefully we can start doing inside TERA.
That's what I was hoping TERA would turn into.
Yeah, I mean, in EVE, you would have that actually happen. I mean, you would have people camp Stargates. I mean, you'd like huge alliances would camp Stargates, and you'd have, smaller alliance come in and just completely bust them to smithereens. That was the coolest part of EVE, was the community. And if they just had NPC ships come in and blow them up, what the hell was the point?
Yeah, I mean,
I completely agree with RC though on there should totally be some consequences. I don't think it should be penalties to your stats. I think it lose gear. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think we're giving the community too much credit. I've seen MMO communities before. I think one of the things that has been bugging me on the forums recently is anytime somebody mentions the possibility of penalties in PvP, there's this huge group of people that jump in saying, don't ruin the PvP, don't be such a Care Bear, blah, blah, blah. And, I don't remember who it was, but somebody in one of my threads was saying something along the lines of, he said he's played a lot of PvP, he's always high ranked, and he loves the idea of penalties because that's where there's a sense of challenge for the griefers. And it got me realizing the people that are saying don't be a Care Bear, open world PvP, no penalty is the way to go, they're really the Care Bears because they're too scared to grief with a chance of losing their gear. They're too scared to play the game with a penalty. And it's really sort of pathetic. I'll be honest, I'll PK somebody if they come up in my area and just start KSing me for no apparent reason. I will PK them, go hide in the dark corner, and work off my debt. But I'm not afraid to kill somebody if they're being a jerk to me. I'm more careful about it than someone that griefs, But I think that that penalty adds to that challenge, adds to that excitement on both sides.
I'd have to agree with you. I probably will at some point be the person who goes out there and says, you know what, I see you, and I'm going to kill you. I mean, if you watch the video I put on YouTube a while back, the one I have playing right now for people to watch, that's what I'm doing. I'm going out and finding people, and they're by themselves, and I go and attack them to see if I can take them out. But there's nothing to it. I killed you. Okay. And then I get to walk away scot-free. So yes, I want that thrill that, I'm out here, I'm murdering people in the game, in a sense. I'm killing people in the game. Why? I should have a risk now. Make it a threat. Make people want to hunt me down. And in my opinion, I feel like if you get a certain amount of kills, you're eternally red. So it would be quite interesting to be able to be put and just become red in a situation and be able to be hunted down by people, to certain people maybe. I don't know. So we've focused on, we've talked about some of the safe zones. We've talked about the penalty system, whether it's there or not. We talked about some leveling system. Let's jump out here and look at something a little bit differently regarding the flagging system itself. And flagging individually or in a group And the fact that there is a limitation with 5 people per group, so if you're going around with 2 different groups, you essentially are flagged against each other. And if the limitation of 5 people is not true, then fix my thought process on it. But you can't group with a group of 10 people and flag together. If you're the same guild, I guess it won't matter. But you just see everybody red that's not in your group. What do y'all think?
Well, I think that's what the guild system, like that's why you want to be in a guild with everyone you're PvPing with, is so that you don't attack the people you're flagging with.
Yeah. Which I guess I'd say most people will be in that situation. It's just the idea of, actually I'm not even sure what the idea I'd say. Yeah, most people will be in a guild system for that situation. But what about
Maybe a guild alliance system wouldn't be bad, just so that if you were in if you were wanting to fight with another guild, you could ally them, and then they'd be counted as part of your guild without them having to join your guild.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get into that too much, but I've seen that on the forums recently. A guild alliance system definitely needs to be implemented into the system.
Did TERA have a guild alliance system?
I didn't play it, so.
TERA.
I didn't ever get into a guild. Couldn't talk to anyone.
They told him off in some other language, so he kind of got denied.
They probably actually invited me, and I just didn't know.
I don't know what that says. I'm just gonna click no.
No.
I was gonna say I think this game takes a lot of its cues from Lineage 2 for obvious reasons. So I imagine there will be a guild alliance system, and I especially I think I was reading something about that, but my best guess is there will be a guild alliance system, mainly because they're building this to be a political MMO. That's one of their biggest draws, other than the combat system. So without that kind of system, I don't see it succeeding as a political MMO.
All right, well then let's look at the other side of this. If you're in a group and your teammate flags himself red to go attack somebody, should you be auto-flagged and be attackable, or should you stay white like it currently is?
I think it's fine the way it is. The most annoying factor is the 60-second rule. You know, there was many a time as a Zerker I was chasing after somebody, and then right when I was about to hit him, they'd flag off. That's really annoying as a Zerker. You're like charging your attack, and you're like about to hit him, and flag off.
So when you're chasing somebody who's an outlaw, you're chasing an outlaw, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get this person. They tried to kill me, or they tried to kill somebody else, and
I'm outlawed. And
you're 60 seconds.
The hit doesn't happen.
Okay, so there we go. You get outlawed and fought against. Evade for 60 seconds. That's all you got to do.
Stay away from the Zerker for 60 seconds, and you're good.
If everyone played a Zerker, all the outlaws on the server are Zerkers, I think we're fine.
All right, we're gonna create a little video series, PvP in 60 seconds.
I mean, I probably have like 3 or 4 different occurrences where that happened, and I was cussing the ever-living what out of it.
I think the flag system should be experience-based, or grind of some sort. I know, like Silk Road Online, I played for a while. That and Lineage 2. If you wanted to drop your red state, your PK state, you had to go kill monsters and essentially survive while killing monsters. You know, because while you're out there grinding this state off, anybody that's running by is going to see you red. So again, it adds to that challenge for the PKers.
Yeah, so the 60-second thing, do you all think that was completely ridiculous, just adding in a 60 seconds, or should it just be 5 minutes, or should it just be until you turn it off? Or
I definitely think the karma system, like where at a certain point when you've killed so many people, you should not be able to flag off yourself. I mean, think about it like this: if you're out in the woods and you kill somebody, did someone see you do it? Did it happen? But if you're running around in the wilderness killing hundreds and hundreds of people, you're going to have some bounty posters up, and somebody's going to know you were doing it. So you shouldn't be able to just turn it off. You know what I mean? So like, and I think you should have to earn, the good graces back in some ways.
And I think the problem is, I think the biggest problem you have there is we're getting into having to code a new system for the game. And once again, how far is this little independent team that Bluehole has set aside for NMAS going to actually take effect? If those type of changes, I don't think will occur for us before release until Bluehole sees, okay, subscriber numbers in the West are larger. They're our bigger area now. Let's put focus on what they want. And then they might actually put some idea out there. Otherwise, we might be stuck with just a small team who makes some changes on what MS says.
If you read the description of Outlaw, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you read the description of that skill, didn't it say something like there will be a penalty? There just wasn't actually a penalty. I could have swore the skill description said, while flagged, if you're killed, there's a penalty, but then there didn't end up being anything.
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Well, the original system in KTERA, you had a stats deduction or something like that, from what I remember.
Right.
So, I mean, the system's kind of already there. I don't agree with the stats reduction. That's completely ridiculous to penalize, in my opinion, obviously. I'm not going to say that that's everyone's opinion. But I don't...
What if it's a temporary stat
reduction?
reduction?
Think about it.
What if it's a temporary stat reduction for, say, you become an outlaw and you die, you have a 30-minute stat reduction?
I'd say no, because, I mean, realistically, if you were an outlaw and you went and killed somebody, would you now be worse at your job?
Well, you're dead. If you die, you're dead. I mean, you're pretty much worse at your job if you die.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I just, if I wouldn't complain personally, I would just wait and then.
I think the possibility of a gear drop would be better. It reduces your stats, but you can replace the gear right away if you have it.
Right.
Exactly.
So
I can totally get down with that. I mean, Eve, you get your ship blown up, you lose mostly everything, most likely. So you're losing a piece of gear or 2 pieces of gear that was actually one of the coolest factors. You're actually losing something, so it really ties you to your character. You had to earn it, and then you just lost it. It kind of pisses you off.
yeah, and I have heard some others say before on the forums and stuff, and I've seen it talked about crystal drop. What if instead of it was gear, it's just that your crystals could drop out?
Crystals are so replaceable. I'm sorry. Crystals are like a dime a dozen.
I think I have like 12 backups. So I'll just throw one in, and I'll use them actually as bait. I'll just throw them on the ground for you, and then kill you there. How's that? That's how useless that would be.
Perhaps I would like to throw. The only reason I'd like the item drop idea is the fact that if I see somebody and I was like, "Ooh, I want that weapon. Let's go up there and kill that guy. We might get the weapon or whatever." That kind of seems more exciting in situation where I've been in, and that's how it was in, say, Mortal Online or Darkfall. It was like, okay, I want their gear, and Darkfall was even bigger when I played it because they had like these big, huge swords that you carry around, and they would glow green if they were poisonous or whatever, or they're gold if they were critical damage extra. And it's like, okay, I want your person weapon. Okay, let's get a group, go out there and kill this guy. And that was more fun about it. It was they had a reason. You wanted to go get something. And I would almost say that griefing might occur less if there was a reason to go out there and kill somebody. And that sounds odd. Call me crazy. But people would be more focused on and select who they want to go out and fight. Because they'd risk themselves losing items. But they would also be like, okay, well, I want to kill this person for their item possibility. From what they visually see.
And you'd have those few people that just wanted to grief. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd still have the hardcore griefers, but it's limited to the hardcore griefers.
We haven't heard you in a bit, Tyro. Kind of John you out.
I don't really have... I agree with you guys for the most part. I'm just more trying to figure out how they could implement a system like that, or what they would want to do. I don't know if I agree. The outlaw thing just feels awkward to me. It really does. I wish I could just hit anyone if they're in front of me.
Oh, what, having to declare it?
Yeah, I
Control
don't
that.
think you should, because having to press one button before I hit someone instead of having to not. I mean, if anything, it would encourage people talking to each other. And I mean, if I'm around someone when I'm questing, I might as well talk to them and party with them. So A, I'll get the quest done faster. B, I might meet someone who I could play with in the future. I see no reason for just...
Call me crazy, but I say that was implemented to make it easier. And what I mean by
Yeah, I was about to
easier,
say.
so you don't whack the person who's questing right next to you and you're flagged red. And I guess there's a lot of AoE attacks in the game, and a lot of so that would probably have happened quite often. You're just out there doing a quest, and you played Darkfall, Tara. I mean, and if you played Darkfall or anything, or a lot of PvP games that had that auto flag system, you attack anybody. It was a whole new level of griefing. It was, okay, I'm going to jump in front of you, flag you, then I can kill you because you look like the bad person. It was reverse griefing in this instance. I'm going to purposely get hit.
So if someone
to
jumps
flag
in your
you.
hit, you're getting the first hit on them. I mean,
Yes.
I feel like there's no difference. I mean, if they kill you, then the only downside is if they implemented the system where you can lose gear for killing so many people, then if they jumped in front of you and flagged you and then you killed them, then you would get that outlaw point. That would be the only downside. But right now, it would just be if they jumped in front of you and took the first hit, then you would be an outlaw and you would be one hit closer to killing them than they would be you.
Right. With the drop in gear, though, the big thing being that if they've killed 30 people and have a chance to drop, in any good karma system, they're still going to be red. A good hour or two afterwards, they're not just going to be like, hey, now I don't want to be an outlaw anymore. I'll stand over here for 30 seconds. I mean, it's going to be, you kill 10 people, you're an outlaw for a good amount of time. And like I said, Lineage 2, Silk Road Online, you had to kill monsters, or every time you got killed, you had your chance to drop equipment as well as lost a certain chunk of karma. So, I hate to do this. I sort of have to bail. I'm having fun, but the girlfriend.
That's all right.
Aggro.
Aggro.
That's fine. We
The
can.
world quest.
We good. It was good to have you here, RC. You're on the forums underneath. What's the name you go on underneath the forums?
RC.
Just the same. Anything else though? Is it just RC by itself? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, just
I'm RC everywhere.
ARCIE. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today, RC.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem.
Thanks for chatting. Invite me again if you're doing another one of these. I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, see ya.
Yep. See
Later.
All right, see what happens here with our screens when he jumps off. Haha. Look at that. You're all over the place, Dustin. Let's see if I can fix this screen here. We're gonna add a picture to cover up that area. So what was your most favorite thing? I mean, we've talked a lot about systems, bad parts and things like that. What was your most interesting thing that you had during this entire beta experience in PvP? Tyra?
Yeah, it was probably
Or-
the full-on Guild Wars. People. I personally wasn't in any Guild Wars. Our guild didn't declare war against anyone in this specific beta because a lot of people weren't on that weekend. But I was involved where an entire guild would just go red, and then the other guild would go red, and then you had like 100 people sitting there, attacking each other, not in the safe zone, which was pretty awesome. And then you could die and just get right back in the fray. That was probably the coolest part. Running around ganking people, both lower level and higher level. It's more of a challenge. I did do some policing. That was fun, but the general openness of the beta was pretty awesome.
How about you, Tyra?
Yeah, for the most part, I like the openness of it. I was actually surprised. I was expecting to hit Lumbertown and everyone just killing each other, which I kind of wanted. And I got there and people were acting normal. And if someone accidentally flagged themselves, they'd instantly get jumped on by everyone, which I kind of thought was lame. I thought it was a little pathetic on people's part to jump someone because they accidentally hit the flag button. But yeah.
What about-
It's what I wanted. I like it. It's a game I'm probably going to play when it comes out. I'm happy with my pre-order.
What about the
I bet they
future?
learned to move that button too.
The button's too quick. Let's move the button to somewhere it's indiscriminate. What about the future of this game? The political scene. Do you all want to see the political scene playing out more in the open world as opposed to the current, I guess you can say, the current political scene when it comes to a guild taking control of a land? In order for that guild to control land, I believe if it's a PvP system, it's sort of like a war zone type system where it's sanctioned battles. Would you all be interested in, and this may sound crazy, I may be delusional, we'll see, but there's a game called Face of Mankind that has you own an entire colony type system, and it was full open world PvP, and the way they did their system was by fighting, by your guild, or was it faction essentially, fighting on that place, you gained influence. The more kills you got, you gained influence, or if you got killed, it decreased. So there's influence battle. And when your influence battle reached a certain point, it reached up there at a certain point, then you could declare a siege and then a certain time frame would appear and a battle would occur within that time frame. That time frame could actually be reduced or increased once again by influence of stuff that was going on. Now it had other things. You could not only PvP, but you could also hack the place that helped you decrease and increase time. But either way, it was a whole thing of the guilds or the factions going against each other, and who's winning these fights helped increase or decrease the amount of time that was left there to own before a war could possibly break out, or from stopping a war from happening. It was a fun system because you could constantly check it changing and stuff, and you had to be constantly fighting, and it was a unique way to gain control of the area. Do you all have other ideas or interested in that, or don't care?
I like that system, actually. Have to be careful so that people don't find some way to exploit it, or having like a clan that no one actually cares about and farming that clan for kills. But as long as like you have to have influence to lose influence, and to gain influence, for people to gain influence from you, you have to have influence. As long as a system like that's in play, then yeah, that would work really well.
Well, and I think the idea is that it would you can only kill gaining the influence over the land only affects killing the owners, or either the owners of that land or those owners' allies, and vice versa.
That would work really well, actually.
And not
That'd be
just
awesome.
and not just randoms, because randoms can be exploited in a sense. And they also had in the whole thing of anybody below a certain level, or it was actually in that game there wasn't levels. It was anybody who was only been in the game for X amount of time. The character's only X amount of time old. Didn't have any effect on the influence system either way. So, what do you?
Yeah, I kind of like that system. I definitely feel there needs to be world objectives need to be there that I don't see there right now. I like the idea of a possible point system, plots, King of the Hill time where you have to control a certain point. Definitely have to have alliances. Eventually leading into having to take control of the city. That'd be pretty awesome. I think the method of using kills can seriously be exploited, but if you actually had to be there and you had to guard that area for a certain area of time, even that doesn't guarantee you the ability to control the city. Then if the guild was big enough or the alliance was big enough, they could just sit in the town, let you control all the plots, so when you try to attack the town, just wipe you out. That's entirely possible. It'd be, something needs to be done. The current political system, as it's been described, is not going to be good enough.
Yeah, I feel like the current political system is lacking a bit. It's almost like it's a facade of, we have a political scene, you can take control of the land, but it's still just who has and I guess it's constant. I mean, who gets voted on, so that could be what guild gets voted up, I could say. It's not really an individual, but it's a guild that gets selected into it, and then the guild leader becomes the Vanarch in a sense. But you had the two options of PvP battlegrounds essentially going on to take control, or being voted to take control. And the voting to take control, I understand, and I guess it's just so those people that don't want to do the PvP system. But the whole idea of the PvP battlegrounds is decent to a sense, but I'm not sure what the limitations are. It is how many times can you challenge them, who can fight in them, and it starts to become questionable of, is this going to be interesting long enough that we're just going to battlegrounds week after week to see who owns control, as opposed to an actual war occurring. Because the current guild v guild wars that go on is what, a 24-hour period. Whoever collects the most points wins. Kind of blah. And I really don't care about it. It's weak. It's not that interesting.
There's no function in the game other than just to kill people. And
Yeah.
say, oh, I beat you, which is not good enough. It's fun, but not what it needs to be. There needs to be more.
Yeah. And go ahead, Tyro.
I don't know what else more you'd want, because if you start to add rewards to it, that's when you start to get exploiting. I mean, I like the bet idea, where people can bet on stuff. Bet or wagers would be nice. So that maybe to war, you have to put up a wager, and if the clan you ward beats you, you lose that wager. Of course, that would mean you wouldn't gain anything from winning the war. But,
Yeah. Well, and that's, I don't know if they've done anything to the the en masse version of the political system, but perhaps if like the whole tournament system that goes on, if that's what it is to take control of the land that's currently in, I'm not sure if the guild that wants to declare that war, essentially to take over the land, do we know if they have to put anything up for it? Because if you defeat them, then you still have your land, but you really didn't get anything else. I mean, can like it be like, depending on the size of the land or something like that, you have to put up 200,000, whatever their currency system is changing, I believe, in the next update. But put up something, anyways, a certain amount of gold or things.
Well, I mean, the problem with the battlegrounds idea, really, I mean, you could theoretically just have, a small guild that's just awesome end up taking over a city because they, that's the battle of the, whatever the Spartan thing was, they could, you funnel all those people into one spot and you can just wipe them all the way out. I don't really see that as a war. I mean, I just don't see that as a war at all. It doesn't sound fun at all.
Yeah,
I want to be able to go jump in on this battle if I know these guys and they're my friends, and even if they aren't part of my alliance and I don't want these guys to take over the city, I want to be able to go jump in on that thing. I don't want it to be a battlegrounds instance. That's silly.
Yeah, it's almost like the guild that may be small has some of the best PvPers, so they take control and maintain control. But in I guess you can say a role play sense or whatever, they can't do anything with their city. They own it, but they don't have like a mass amount of people to make an obvious thing. And people are going to hate me. The idea, if I say this, the idea of Zerg guilds. I would say if you're gonna have control of land, you need to be a large guild, just to make it more fun and interesting. You need to be a large guild. If you're wanting to take it out and you're smaller, they need to implement the alliance system so you can maybe hire mercenaries to help in your fight and stuff like that. And that would actually give guilds an opportunity to be a mercenary type guild and be able to be contracted out to help fight in a war system. But Tyro is so right. There is so many possibilities for exploits, but there also is so many possibilities for the metagame in this whole system. And you've played Eve, you said, Zon, and metagame is what keeps that game alive. If it wasn't for metagame in there, if it wasn't for the metagame that existed in Darkfall for the first 3 months, it just wouldn't be as fun without that type of system available to us. So I guess what the whole thing we're looking at is we want to maybe go less systems and more, or not so much less systems, but less restricting systems and more of a raw system that allows for metagame. It can be exploited, but maybe we have to fight through the exploits until we figure out a way to prevent them at some point.
As long as people aren't doing it for a reward, I don't care. I don't like instance PvP just because it takes people out of the world and people end up just sitting in town like queuing up. I prefer like open world PvP, people taking the time to look for fights. Of course, I'm used to Darkfall, and that's what all you do in Darkfall is you put gear on and then you start running around the world for hours looking for people to kill. But yeah, I'd prefer some way. like I prefer like a full guild versus guild combat, where if a small guild wants to win, they have to either recruit people or do some crazy guerrilla tactics to win.
Yeah,
So,
it's almost like they would have to add in if we're gonna make it to where guerrilla tactics can come into play. We'd have to almost add in like objectives throughout the land, taking over a post in the land or something like that, and that gains you influence points. So you could actually have a small group going around and defeating a certain point in order to gain influence.
If you look at Eve, for instance, I was actually in a Merc corporation, which eventually founded an alliance. In that game, you had to have not point of sales, POSs around moons, and that's how you controlled systems. And whoever had the most in that system, basically controlled that area, and then you'd have to control multiple systems to control, bigger sectors and things of that nature. The Merc status was just awesome. I mean, you just not being part of a major alliance, that definitely is a big appeal. You can just flip swides. Someone offers you more money, you go after them, things of that nature. I definitely think that would be awesome to have in this game. I still think that Zerg guilds, if policed correctly, if the players police them correctly. There were Zerg guilds in Eve. They show up, they would crash servers. So, and the players still managed to get around them. People complained about them, but the game went on. I mean, the metagame was awesome. And so it's possible to do it. Even though people say that you can't get around Zerg guilds, it's entirely possible to do it. That's actually half the challenge.
Well, and it brings in the whole thing we say, metagames, one way to get rid of a Zerg guild is to infiltrate the Zerg guild.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
I mean,
we talk about
awesome stories.
We go back to the goon squads and Bob, and we go into infiltration and how that was broken down. I mean, and if I was in Darkfall for the first 3 months, I was actually there with people who were part of that goon squad and were actually also on the side with some people that were from Eve. So it's interesting. We saw the same thing happen twice in 2 different games. But that was awesome. I mean, it's almost like one of those things that you want to see makes headlines. An event in a game that makes headlines, not a marriage event, not a interrupting a funeral with PvP event. I mean, it's essentially this actual event of sabotage from infiltrating ranks.
Woke up and entire systems worth of point of sales have been taken offline and destroyed overnight.
Yeah, it was this whole system of subterfuge, and it was awesome to see inside of a game the aspects that a game can take on a whole living world environment. This whole idea of it's more than just a game in this sense. It's almost like we have sat there and strategized every point of attack, and it's more than just straight up face-to-face combat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had multiple spies in other people's guilds as a Merc corporation. That was part of what we did. I was on. We had like a 9-month assignment with this one place where they were just paying us out the nose for us to get in this guild and uproot them from a high sec area, which is extremely difficult to do. And we just ended up wiping out all of their hangars, taking their point of sales offline when they all went to sleep, and they woke up the next morning and didn't have anything. And it was awesome.
All right, well, we've been going at it for a while, so let's go ahead and bring this to a close. I have one final question for both of you, though. On a PvP server, do you all believe or think, and especially maybe even on a roleplay PvP server if it ever comes out, I'm not going to get into that conversation right now, but do you believe we should be limited to one character on that server, or do you think multiple characters should be allowed? Let's start with you, Zahn.
I personally think you should be able to have multiple personas. Personally, that's just me.
Okay. What do you say, Tyro?
I say multiple. It'd be nice if there's some way that people could know that was your character. So like a last name system in the Old Republic, where all characters have the same last name on one server. But I don't think that even matters too much in this game. I think you should be able to have multiple characters, have fun.
All right, well, do you think multiple characters, say, have to be in the same guild, or they're automatically brought into the guild together, or they can be completely separate persona / identities completely void of any connection.
I mean, if someone wants to have another character that no one else knows about, I mean, I personally would just buy another account. You know, so you're not really gonna be able to stop it.
Yeah,
I
true.
think it just, I don't really think it holds up. I think it would just be more of an annoyance for the people that would want to have multiple characters that no one knows about. And depends on how much you want to annoy somebody. So, I mean, from that standpoint, I guess they should do it because then NMAS would make more money and then they could develop more and we don't have to have these conversations about how we need them to talk to us more.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining me. And Zahn, what is your actual full name on the forums?
Zanata.
Zanata. ZH.
Zonatta.
Yeah. ONATTA. Okay. And then Tyro, which is TYROGON, right, Tyro?
Yep.
Tyro, just so you know, the entire time that whenever you've talked, you've gotten to be the gameplay video and stuff of all PvP action is what you've gotten to be whenever you talked. So, thank you both for joining me today. We had a discussion. I hopefully people watch this. Some people see it. Maybe spark some new discussion ideas. I have a feeling the trolls are going to hit it up. It doesn't really bother me. Trolls can hit it up and they can click an ad while they're at it if they want. So, thank you for joining me, both of you, today. And is there any last thing you all want to say before we're done?
Not really.
All right, Tyro?
Yeah, it was good. I hope we can do this some more and time awareness of this gets raised so we can get more opinions in here. And
Definitely.
hopefully
More
get a better
people.
debate going.
Maybe we can have like 20 people on that screen.
I'm guessing you know postcards and chat, Zanata.
Yes, I do. He's in my guild there. I had to mute them because they were talking too much.
All right. Let's bring this to a close here. Let's see. There we go. All right. Well, that's it. For anybody watching, you can actually check out my site where this will be on is justingaming.com, or it'll put up on my YouTube channel at Aquelis Gaming, and we'll get up there as soon as possible, and I'll put a link in the TERA forums as well. So thank you for joining me today, and have a nice